Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Lucas Frankel alongside Mike Lucas on the eve of the NBA draft. We will delve into all the possibilities for the Cleveland Cavaliers with the 49th overall pick in round two. Who will they get? Who's available? Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. These are all the possibilities that the Cavaliers are eyeing with pick number 49 in the NBA draft. I promise we will delve into all of the possibilities for the Cavs and how they're going to boost this championship culture and compete in the East. All of a sudden, a wide open East that when you look at the Indiana Pacers, no Tyrese Haliburton, the Boston Celtics, no Jason Tatum, the Milwaukee Bucks, no Damian Lillard. Drew Holiday was just traded. So there's a lot of openings when you look at the Eastern Conference and the Cavaliers. Basically, them against the Knicks, right, Mike? It's basically who it comes down to.
I love how you like to start every podcast with a shot at Cleveland and end up going on a 2-minute tangent when we could be talking about actually important things, Frank. So thank you. Shout out Cleveland. It is 114 degrees in Cleveland, which is the exact same degrees as seconds Frank used to open the podcast about stuff that he doesn't actually want to talk about. Let's talk about the Thunder and
No, no,
Sam.
I'm genuinely like the East is very genuinely. I know
Yeah.
the Cleveland Cavaliers 49th pick in the draft. Yeah, who cares? But the East is like if it's not next year for the Cavs, like if you look at it right now, like seriously, like
No, you're right.
then at that point, then you really have to start making serious moves to change the direction of the franchise.
I already think they should be trading Jared Allen and trying to get some more length and depth in the wings. Darius is not the answer, in my opinion, in terms of upgrading the roster. I don't think you get better by trading Darius Garland. And when you look at the East, you mentioned it, Boston down two of their proverbial core four guys. You have Halliburton out for all of next season. Dame most likely out for all of next season. It's now or never. And if you're going to stake your claim that Kobe Altman seems to be doing, that this is a roster that was built to contend for a championship, there will be surprise teams. Detroit should take a step forward. The Knicks should be good again. The Magic just traded for Desmond Bane. It's not a cakewalk, but two of the five best players in the conference probably aren't going to play next year, and Haliburton and Tatum. So it's now or never, and we'll see what Philadelphia does. But it's basically now or never. And despite the fact that I thought you were being facetious at first, I do agree with your sentiment that this better be the time for the Cavs, or it probably will never happen with this current group.
The Sixers thing could go in two different directions. Either they're the best, like literally one of the best teams in the East, challenging the Cavs for the spot in the NBA Finals, or they'll be in the lottery again. There's literally like no in between with that team because they have the third pick in the draft. We'll see if they end up trading it in the next 24 hours plus. But it's all contingent on Joel Embiid's health because I mean he hasn't proven any year recently that he can go out there on a night in night out basis and perform. You can do it in spurts, but he always seems to get hurt, and we'll see. I just to have any belief that Philly can be productive next season with Joel Embiid is just you're gonna have a hard time convincing me of that. But we do want to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, which by the way, I hate. It's so ridiculous that there's so much confusion about how this is framed. This is the first championship in Thunder history. It's the second championship first.
It's the
Like,
first. I saw this on the rundown, Frank. It's the first. It's the first. It's the first.
I know, but like technically, it's the second franchise. I agree with you, and I hate, and the Lakers are guilty of this as well, where they're counting all their Minneapolis championships as their, I believe they have 17. I just, when you move to a new city, it should just start over. Even though you may be like a franchise that moved from one place to another, it's like before the Yankees became the Yankees or the New York Islanders, they were the Orioles, but the Orioles don't, keep that hit. The Yankees don't, recognize any of that previous history with the Baltimore Orioles before they became the, like, so I don't know. We need to make this a lot more simple. There's a lot of things in sports that I would like to adjust, especially like in the NBA draft, where on Wednesday night, Adam Silver's gonna be like, with the 10th pick in the draft, the Houston Rockets select blah blah blah. When everyone and their mother knows that that pick is by the Phoenix Suns. The NFL wastes no time announcing trades, but the NBA can't do it until July 6th, well after the draft is over. It's one of those things that's so obvious, and the fact that the leagues haven't adjusted to the times is like concerning and just very disappointing.
Yeah, yeah. It makes no sense. The Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore, and they have eight championships, but the Ravens don't claim the championships that they won in Cleveland when they were the Browns. Browns fans now, the delusional ones, try to claim that the franchise has 8 championships, when technically that is not true because the franchise that won the championships is in Buck. Listen, none of it matters. This is the first championship in Oklahoma City. That's all that matters. If they win again next year, it'll be the second, not the third. If they go three-peat, it'll be 3, not 4. So yeah, I'm with you, Frank. It's an irrelevant footnote in history to say that it's not technically their first because of what they did in Seattle 35 years ago. That was a different franchise. They're not even the same. It's the Thunder versus the Sonics. Okay, they're two different things. They are not the same.
And we also have to recognize Sam Presti, Emerson College alum, leading that team to an NBA championship. Has been at the helm in OKC since, or with that franchise, dating back to Seattle since 2007.
3
So
Emerson alums in
Rob
that high
Hennigan
up
won
in
as
the front
well.
office. And
Who was the third?
Hank Smith, who was the former
Oh, Hank
basketball
Smith.
coach, is the head of scouting for the Thunder.
So Emerson, a huge night all around for Emerson College. You look at the Emerson alums, in the NBA right now. You have Harris Rubenstein with the Boston Celtics. You have
It was hysterical that they included him on that list. I got such a kick out of that.
in the Emerson College magazine. He must be friends with whoever is the editor of that magazine
Has to be.
is.
Listen,
But
I'm closer to working in the NBA than Harris Rubenstein. No offense to Harris, but
anyway, huge night for Emerson. Sam Presti, the architect of that team, looked for a while like he may have ruined a potential dynasty when he uh, orchestrated the destruction of the Durant, Harden, Westbrook trio. It seemed like that team was destined to run the decade of the 2010s, but we all know what happened there. Traded James Harden, and then Durant ended up going to the Warriors, and then Westbrook flamed out as a player, and then here we are. But during Game 7, obviously, Tyrese Haliburton, the big story there, and Bill Simmons I thought made a great point where he said that this is one of the first NBA finals where you will remember the loser more than the winner. And unfortunately, I agree with him. And it's one of those things where we've seen this so many times in sports, in the NBA especially, where guys with calf injuries end up tearing their Achilles. And this was, I'm sure, something that Halliburton knew that the risks of when he played. And he put out a statement on Monday night saying that, I do it again, like no hesitation, which I don't blame him at all. You could say that the training staff should have maybe been more firm with him, like, or but the one the one thing that I was trying to think about is actually I lost my train of thought. What were you going to say about Halliburton?
no, I saw you put in the rundown like who's most to blame for the injury. No one's to blame. It's a terrible, horrible result. It was the worst case scenario, but Halliburton came out and said, I'd do it again. And I would say 98.5% of NBA players in that same scenario would have suited up knowing the potential consequences of tearing your Achilles and further injuring your calf. But it's game 7 of the finals. You are the catalyst of the team. You are the team's face, the face of the franchise. You have played through the same calf strain in game 5 and game 6. So if you played it in game 6 and played pretty well in game 6, oh, now in game 7. No, like no one's to blame. It sucks that it happened. It's terrible. We all knew the potential consequences. He knew it. Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Dame Lillard, those guys had calf injuries that then led to Achilles injuries. Tatum's Achilles injury kind of came out of the blue, not apples to apples, but all these guys know the consequences of going back out there, but and Halliburton's 25, he's 25 or 26. How old is he, 25 or 26? But whatever it is, he had spent his entire life working for that moment. There's no guarantee you'll ever be back in the NBA Finals. The Pacers hadn't made it since the early 90s, Frank. Like the Thunder with KD, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook made it in 2012, and it took them 13 years to get back to the finals, and none of those 3 guys are on the team. So when you're in a game 7 playing for the biggest possible thing in your entire life, of course you're going to play. So no one gets to blame. I don't blame the trainers. I don't blame Halliburton. I don't blame his parents. I don't blame Rick Carlisle. I blame bad luck.
It does seem, but I don't know if it's bad luck because Halliburton, I don't remember which game he exactly got hurt, but I believe Game 5 was the game he scored. I believe he
Field
finished,
goal.
yeah,
No
no
field
field
goal.
goal attempt. So
Full
I think
point.
there was a concerted effort from Halliburton after the initial injury to like maybe take it easy, and because he was getting a lot of criticism for not being as aggressive. And then, the last two games of the finals, he was like, "You're right. You know what? Whatever it is, whatever happens." I think he accepted the fact that this could happen, and he went out there and he was like, "If it happens, you know what? It's a lot of guys say it, and not everyone actually means it. I'm going to play until." Have to carry me off the court. And that's exactly what had to happen to Tyrese Haliburton. Reminds me of CC Sabathia, the last pitch he ever threw in the major leagues. He literally tore like every ligament
Mhm.
in his elbow and his shoulder, and that was how his Major League Baseball career ended, and that's how this one happened for Haliburton. You literally got to drag me off the court, and that's what happened. The question is though, how would the game have been different if Haliburton didn't get hurt? Because as great as the Thunder are as a team and whatnot, SGA shot 8 of 27 from the field. Like this game was there to be had. Halliburton was on fire to start the game. Everyone talks about how he had the most threes in the game despite playing just 7 minutes. It's a fascinating question. It's frustrating in the sense that we'll never know the actual answer because it's impossible to prove either way. But you have a feeling either way. If Halliburton does not get hurt, how does this game change?
I mean, I still think the Thunder end up winning the game. It goes in a very different sense. Indiana's offense doesn't stall out for significant portions of the second half. And obviously, TJ McConnell in the second quarter put on an admirable, incredible effort to kind of shoulder the load. I thought when Halliburton went down, you could feel the energy from both teams kind of be zapped out of the arena for a little bit. And, Simmons, Ursillo, Zach Lowe, they all talked about it. I agreed. Like the rest of the first half, I don't really know what happened. Like I don't really remember a lot of the ins and outs of the first half other than TJ McConnell scoring and him being the only semblance of offense they had. But I thought OKC took their foot off the throttle when Halliburton went out and they didn't play with a ton of intensity. And I think if Halliburton's in, it just everyone's level of play increases. You know what I mean? Like I don't think SGA goes 8 of 27 if Halliburton's on the court, even though Halliburton's not the one guarding him. And I think Jalen Williams gets more involved offensively, and you see a more concerted effort from OKC to get the ball and get those two guys in particular going without having to sacrifice a ton on the defensive end. I still think at the end of the day, home teams have now won 16 of the last 21 game sevens, I believe the stat is. OKC is incredible at home. They got just enough from their contributing guys, a couple of threes from Caruso early, Cason Wallace, Andrew Wiggins. Hartenstein had his best game of the series. Holmgren was pretty good. So I still think they win, but I think the way they get to that win, it's not a demonstrative third quarter and then Indiana kind of claws its way back late in the fourth, but never gets it too close. It's a much more competitive game in those final 24 minutes.
What it would never happen, but like another sports czar thing I've been thinking about is like after Halliburton goes down, it would have been like much more exciting if at the same time, like you tell SGA, all right, they don't have Halliburton the rest of the game, so you're not playing the rest of the game either. And then it just becomes like this a much more exciting, intense
Eye
game
for an
because
eye.
yeah, because like all I could think about was like, damn it, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. I just want them to like stop the game and replay it again when Halliburton's healthy.
In 18 months.
Or yeah, or like next June. Like that's what was going through my mind is this sucks. The Thunder are gonna win. It's over. Despite the fact the Pacers were still leading at halftime, which I think sort of hurt them. The fact that it happened at halftime just allowed the Thunder to like regroup, recollect their thoughts, and refocus after getting through the initial shock of seeing what happened on the other side with Halliburton. And once they were able to do that, then the game was over. But another thing that happened on Sunday before the game, Kevin Durant, former net great, if you remember his time with the Nets, was traded to the Houston Rockets. Seemingly, if you listen to what Durant said and all the reports that have seemingly leaked out, he forced his way to Houston. That was the place he wanted to go, teaming up with a team that was a 2 seed in the West last year, but lost to the Golden State Warriors in round one. Another huge W for the Nets, and I'm happy that it did not work out for Durant in Phoenix because he literally was like, "That's the only place I want to go." And now, like, I don't know when there's gonna be a point where like Durant's actual legacy starts taking hit. Like if the Rockets take a step back this year, which they very well might, because the West is amazing, and then people were just kind of dismissing Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks was a huge, uh, you
Jalen Green's
know,
an addition by subtraction. I agree. Brooks is a big loss, but I think they can make up for it with more play from Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepard, who was the third pick in the draft last year, is going to get a chance to play now. Durant's a perfect fit with Houston.
everyone keeps saying that. I mean, Durant's a
It
perfect
is.
fit for any team based on
I
his skill
mean, yeah,
set.
that's also true, but Houston needed a guy that can do a lot of the stuff Durant does. So does every team. You're right. He's an all-time, top 15, top 20 guy ever, one of the greatest walking scorers to ever lace him up. But at some point, Frank, I don't think it hurts his legacy. I'm just from a team perspective, like, fuck, screw you. Like, in what world are you at 37, 38 years old going to dictate that this is the only team we're going to? If the reports are true and the Cavs offered Darius Garland, an offer with Darius Garland was on the table.
That is that. No, I don't believe that.
Kevin O'Connor reported, I haven't heard that from anyone else. There was the report from Gambo, who's the number one media guy in Phoenix, saying that Minnesota offered Gobert, Dillingham, and Terrence Shannon plus picks. I know I don't love Gobert, but like that's a better package than what you got back. Darius Garland, if that is real, is certainly a better package than what you got back. The report is that Durant just kept saying no, 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 won't resign until the offer from Houston got so low that they had to say yes. At what point does the general manager or team say just F you, Kevin? Like, no, we're not we're trading you to get the best package back, not to meet your demands. This is now 3 teams in a row that have traded him to meet his demands.
It's
I
crazy.
want to see
He's the only player in the league where like the report comes out Kevin Durant's going to work with his business guy Rich Kleiman to orchestrate a trade out of whatever team he's on. He's the only guy in like I can think all of sports that when he becomes first of all becomes unhappy this many times wherever he is, and B specifically works with his personal. It's not
yeah.
like an agent. It's like his business guy to figure out the best next step in his career. I think he's got. I mean, they got one. They got to go deep in the playoffs because at some point, like Durant's legacy, despite listen, one of the greatest mid-range jump shooters of all in the history of basketball. But the way I'm gonna remember Kevin Durant when his tenure in Houston fails is the guy that chose to leave a situation where he could have had a legitimate dynasty and kept winning championships until who knows when they would have stopped. And the Warriors forced his way to 3 different teams and failed every single time. That's all I remember Kevin
Do you
Durant.
hold it against him that he left OKC? Not the fact that he went to Golden State, but if he had signed with any other team other than Golden State, would you have cared? Like,
No, I would not have
you hold that?
cared.
Okay.
The fact that you go to the team that beat you, that just shows like as a competitor, it's kind of like, I don't know if you how well I don't think you follow golf as closely as I do, but Rory McIlroy has been talking about since he won the Masters. He doesn't have the motivation anymore to
Yeah,
like
I saw that. That's kind of fascinating.
so the true greats of sports, Jordan, Brady, Jeter, they get
Yeah.
hungrier after they win. Not, content with where they're at. They want more. That feeling becomes like an addiction. And the truly elite guys, you know, feel that. And then you look at a guy like Kevin Durant, going to the team that like you like Jordan when he lost to the Pistons, just going to the Pistons before ever like having success in Chicago. Like that would be an ultimate sign of weakness. You're gonna have that dog mentality of I'm gonna do whatever I want it takes to win. And Durant, after getting beaten by the Warriors, was like, you know what? It's not happening here. I'm just gonna go to that team because they're clearly better than us. I just thought that was, and it's obviously people have their opinions, and this isn't a scorching hot take. I just thought it was one of the weakest moves any sports figure has ever made in terms of competitiveness and wanting to beat the other team. You can't get any weaker than that.
Yeah, it's funny to me, and I don't even know. I hadn't thought of it till you said it earlier, so I don't even have like a defined take. But he was in a great situation in OKC. Like that was a really good team. They had made the finals. They had the Warriors down 3-1, or they were up 3-1 in the series against the Warriors before Clay went crazy. Like they they had a chance to surpass that Golden State, that iteration of Golden State with Clay, Dre, and Steph. And when he left, and I understood why he left, he didn't like playing with Russell Westbrook. Like I totally get it. He went and joined. Yeah, I just hadn't thought about really the idea of leaving OKC with the position they were in, because it wasn't like they were far off, Frank. Like that
I
was
don't. I don't.
a damn good team.
I'm not going to destroy him for wanting to leave OKC. I get it. Russell Westbrook is not as a player that a lot of players wouldn't love playing with, just because of he just brings a lot to the table and a lot of baggage. But the idea of just going to the team that kept beating you, I just thought, come on, man.
Yeah,
Of all
yeah,
the teams, that's the one you want to go to.
yeah.
It's like
Totally fair.
I'm just trying to think. It's like Connor McDavid forcing a trade to the Panthers.
That'd be
Like
fun.
that's this level of transaction and like, that would just make McDavid look horrible if he was like, I'm done with Edmonton, I'm going to the Panthers. That would be horrible, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it not? That would be on the level of Durant going to the Warriors.
I mean, no, it'd be objectively funny. Now,
I tell you,
actually,
that's a great point. Like that's a great segment I should do is off of the Durant thing and what would be the worst? Like it's like Otani going to the Dodgers. That's like
he
it's
did go to
it's
the
it,
Dodgers.
huh? I know, but that's another example of like a
And
guy that
if Juan Soto went to the Dodgers,
right. Anyway, so another thing I want
that's
to talk
literally your
about.
example right there. That is your example.
I didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, um, but the Lakers were sold for $10 billion. What I can't wrap my head around is how much the values of NBA franchise have just completely skyrocketed since we were freshmen in college in 2011. The Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers were sold for $280 million in 2011. And then fast forward, 3 years later, all of a sudden we're seeing the LA Clippers sold for $2 billion, which was like at the time was like, oh my God, this will never be matched ever. And then the Suns were then sold for $4 billion. Then the Celtics were sold for $6.1 billion, and all of a sudden it leads to the Lakers being sold for $10 billion. It's just absurd to think if you would have said to someone in 2010, 2011, in 15 years you're going to see a $10 billion NBA team, and then just it's just like if the Lakers are worth $10 billion, then what the hell are the Dallas Cowboys worth? It's it's crazy to think like where is this? Is this ever gonna like go back down again? Is this gonna keep just shooting up to the level of we're gonna see teams worth like $100 billion? It's just when you every time you think that it can't get any higher than this, at least from my vantage point, it like goes above and beyond in terms of
It's all
value.
about the TV. It's the TV money. It's all tied to the TV money. You're right. When you sent me the rundown and I saw 280, and 2 billion, and then 4, 6, 10, like it is crazy. The Cowboys are probably a $15 billion organization right now. The Lakers at 10 compared to the Celtics at 6, when neither one owns their own stadium, is absurd. But it goes to show you some of the star power. I know you have your whole conspiracy on Luca, and I don't know if you want to dive into that. I told you I actually like the conspiracy theory. It's probably not true, but I like conspiracy theories. It, the thing is, Frank, these numbers aren't going to slow down anytime soon. And I don't know who said it. It's not an original take, but like the amount of people who can afford these teams is getting smaller and smaller. That group is getting thinner and thinner, which is going to lead to investment groups and maybe from foreign outside countries buying teams. And I don't want to live in a world, or I don't want to see a world where I'm using Saudi Arabia as an example because they'll live, but they could be any other country. But like half of the Jaguars are owned by Saudi Arabia. Like I just don't want to live in a world where that is a reality. So I'm not sure if they can cap these numbers. I think part of the reason the Lakers sold for so much, by the way, is the NBA is going to expand to 32 teams. And the
Right.
higher the evaluations on these teams are, the more money there is to pay out all the owners so they get partial of their money back. So there's some reason as to why it's jumped so high of late in that league, but it is crazy, man. Can you imagine $10 billion? Like
Hard
10
to believe.
billion?
So you mentioned my conspiracy theory. So part of my theory is, and listen, the Lakers were gonna always sell for more than the Celtics, but I do believe that Adam Silver's goal, like there was obviously the league knew the Lakers were trying to sell, and Adam Silver wanted to get to 10 billion. That was his goal, and I do believe that uh, the group that ended up buying the team, his name is slipping me. It's
Mark,
very,
Mike, Mark Walter.
yeah, the Walter family. I believe that they had a offer. It wasn't 10 billion, but they were like, Adam Silver was like, "What do I need to do to get this to $10 billion?" He's like, I need a marketable star, not LeBron James, who's creeping up into his 40s, that I can have as the face of my franchise when I buy the team." And Adam Silver was like, "All right, let me see what I can do," and contacted the Mavs, Nico Harrison, and uh, the Lakers people. That includes Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and was like, "All right, you guys can work out a trade for Luka Doncic, and in return, I will make sure that the Dallas Mavericks get the number one overall pick, and everyone wins. And it'll never be proven. It's just as the Luka trade happened, the initial shockwaves were like, "Holy crap, this is unbelievable!" And you start thinking, like, what benefit is there for the Dallas Mavericks to do this trade? Why would they do this? And then you see the Mavericks got the number one overall pick, and it's just like, all right, that's weird because they had like one of the shortest chances ever to win it, and they got it. And then you see the Lakers sell for $10 billion with their new superstar Luka Doncic. You just connect the dots, and there's a reasonable, in my opinion, a reasonable theory of what went down here, given the NBA's history of shady things that they do. That was where I stand on the matter.
I told you when he told me that, or he sent me the article on it. It's not the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'll just leave it at that. It is by no means the craziest thing I've ever heard. And the best conspiracy theories are the ones that have hints of truth weaved in and out of it, Frank. And I do think there are tidbits of truth that could certainly be on the table for your conspiracy. So bravo.
Thank you very much. So the last thing I want to talk about was Shedeur Sanders, who the last time we had a podcast, I was like, he's the model citizen. He is performing on the field, saying all the right things, and then it comes out that he's been pulled over for speeding twice in the last month, and I feel like a sucker, if I must say. I feel like Shedeur is so good and is so well trained when that red light is on and that microphone is in front of his face to say do all the right things. But as soon as that camera shuts off, I have lost all faith that he behaves like a reasonable, well behaving person. Because it just seems like he is reckless, feels like he can do whatever he wants. I see so much entitlement, and this just changes, or I guess validates all of the people that were criticizing Shedeur in his fall in the draft. It's a horrible, horrible look. You can't get anywhere. I mean, you could get worse, but it's pretty bad for Shedeur.
If you like Shedeur, this is a non-factor. This means nothing. If you don't like Shedeur, this is another bullet in the chamber of reasons not to think that he's going to succeed. This has changed nobody's opinion in Cleveland. You're the only person I've actually heard, Frank, who has let this news impact the way they view and think of Shedeur. Because, as I've told you every time we talk about Shedeur, there is a clear line in the sand already. You either are Shedeur is the next savior of the Cleveland Browns, and nothing he can do off the field will change your opinion on that. Or you're in this camp, which is Shedeur's a fifth round pick. Fifth round picks don't pan out. He fell to the fifth round for a number of different reasons, on the field, off the field. And this validates, to what you said, why many teams, including 31 teams outside of Cleveland, and including Cleveland, if you want to put them in this category, passed on him 3, 4, 5, 6, and in one case, 7 times. So it hasn't changed anything in terms of how Browns fans look at him. If you thought he was the savior before, you still think he's the savior. And if you thought he was going to be a bust, you still think he's going to be a bust. Until he gets on the field and does something in pads, with shoulder pads on, Frank, and a helmet, there's nothing he can do off that. There are things he could do off the field that would change that. But 2 speeding tickets, it's not a good look, but it's also not the end of the world. It's a kid being a kid. I've been pulled over for speeding. I'd be a hypocrite to say I haven't. Like, it happens. Going 101 in the 60 and going 90. Was it 91 in the 65? Or it's reckless. I prefer my quarterbacks not to be driving like that. But Myles Garrett's also been pulled over for going 100 plus in Cleveland. And LeBron James got pulled over his rookie year for going 100 plus in Cleveland. And Zach Edey the other day got pulled over for going 100 plus in Purdue. Young kids do stupid stuff all the time. It's not ideal, but it's also not the end of the world.
I just think he should have had
He should have a driver. He should have a driver. End of story. He should have a driver.
He should have had, I think, in my opinion, a little more awareness to understand that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm not this. He shouldn't have been doing this. He shouldn't have been in this situation. I just don't think it's the end of the world.
I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it's unfortunate because it validates all of the things that were said about Shedeur before the draft. And I was hoping they weren't true, but when you see stuff like this, it makes you scratch your head. And granted, there's a lot worse things that you could do. A million worse things you could do, but it's just someone who speeds like that. and I see the all on the road all the time. Guys weaving in and out of lanes, zooming on the highway, like because people know that have been in the car with me. I tend to be a pretty aggressive fast driver, but
Yeah.
I'm not
Sure.
I'm not the level of people who like are weaving in and out of lanes and zoom when I'm going 80, someone's like flying past me like going like 120. I'm not one of those people. And those are the people like that I just view as like reckless human beings, and that's sort of the perception that I get from like Shedeur Sanders. So we'll see. I continue to hope that he gets his head screwed on right, and Dion can get his ear to like stop with the nonsense. But we'll see. The last thing before we go, Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show that he's pretty sure that this will be his final season. And I say, finally, I can't wait for him to retire. The question though is, will he? How will his career end? Will it be him getting benched? Will it be a Week 18 chance to get in the playoffs debacle? Will it be a playoff loss? How do you foresee Aaron Rodgers' final career game going?
Final career. I mean, not a Super Bowl.
Definitely
I
not a
think
Super Bowl.
I think it's more likely to see him lose in the first round than it is to see him reach the Super Bowl with this Steelers team. He said he signed a 1 year deal for a reason. He said, "This is my final go around." I tend to believe him, Frank, even though I've learned every time you try and trust Aaron Rodgers, you get burned. So I don't know. I see him losing in the first round of the playoffs. That was my
You
pick.
think they get to the playoffs?
I do think they make the playoffs, yeah.
And you think my fear for Rodgers is that the way his career is going to end is him being benched for
Well, you
poor
would love
play.
that. Why would that be your fear?
Well, for him, like that's not the way he wanted this to end, but he's clearly like diminished, and not my personal fear, my fear for him. If I'm him, that's what like. Not, and listen, competitive athletes don't think about it like that, but
I
I,
think he's
I
I think he's gonna be pretty good this year.
wait to see. We will see how Aaron Rodgers does this season. We'll also see the Yankees get shut out by the Reds' top prospect Chase Burns here on Tuesday night as they lose again to the Cincinnati Reds. Book it. That will do it for this edition of Lucas Podcast. We're back next week as we explore all the fallout from the NBA draft and the more trades that will happen over this week. Peace. You gotta say it.
Peace.